Well, you're new. What would you like? New first time here. So would you like to start us off?
Okay, sure. I have a couple questions about the budget. I was just wanting some clarification. It says vacancy management to realign underutilized positions or reducing positions to align staff with operational priorities. Could you talk a little bit about what that actually means?
Yeah. This is the very early stages of budget development. We kind of get to a point in December where it's officially got the general manager's proposed budget for the board, and the board does consideration, as the board chair mentioned. Then there's a bunch of public comment period, of which we look to get this finalized sometime in March and April. So right now we're in kind of the framing of the budget. But one of the things we're working hard on management side is to make sure every single position provides value to the organization. And so we're hopeful that we're going to be able to cut some positions from a vacancy point of view to further reduce budget costs to invest in better service overall for the organization. So that's kind of where we're after. So it's not about anyone losing their job. It's about how to use our overall headcount, where we need bodies, and how do we continually get more efficient, and do we need those same amount of positions longer and longer term.
Well, while you're talking about positions, there's this looming, layoffs and the government shutdown. Is that something that's on Metro's mind right now?
It's certainly a thing that we're watching. If we do have a government shutdown, it certainly will have some impacts to us. It's hard to tell. It certainly wouldn't be equivalent to probably full pass shutdowns, where there's carve-outs now where certain agencies stay working, where in the past that was a little different. But definitely we're watching that. It also impacts not just federal employees, but federal contractors, and then the overall business of the government. So a lot of people come into the DMV to transact with the government in variety of ways. So, we obviously are hopeful that between the administration and Congress that they continue to focus, working together and looking after the country. We're here to move people wherever they need to go, and the federal government is one of our obviously larger customer bases. So, obviously we're watching this closely. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, we will keep an eye on how that impacts ridership and things of that nature.
And you might not know this off the top of your head, but I was wondering if you knew a percentage maybe of how many of Metro's workers are essential versus non-essential in a government shutdown scenario?
Metro's workers?
Mm-hmm.
This shutdown has no impact to us.
No, okay.
No, we're not part of the federal government. So
Right.
yeah.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
So we're business as usual, and it's the only real impact for us will be, are there more or less people traveling on the system? Yeah.
Okay. Wanted to ask, that was the best.
Tom, should I get this chair out of the way here? Or?
You're good.
Okay.
Okay. That was the best budget outlook I've heard in quite a few years of covering Metro, definitely since before the pandemic for sure, but maybe even well before that. So I think an average person might look at that and say, well, why does Metro still need extra funding, new funding sources for the future? Why do you say you still need that?
Yeah, I guess from my point of view, I'd say we have to make sure we distinguish between the operating budget and the capital budget, right? So in the operating budget, we've worked incredibly hard. Revenue has definitely increased because of ridership, but we've also, that was part of our campaign for fair enforcement to make sure we were collecting fares. We've also identified almost $500 million or so of savings over the last few years. And we've got to make sure that the operating budget is sustainable. So we have a 3% increase with our jurisdictional partners, which we very much appreciate. That means everything from our collective bargaining agreements, how we manage energy, how much service we deliver, all of our efficiency of the operation has to fit inside of that bucket. And this is the first time to do that in a long, long time. So I think from the operating side, we are cautiously optimistic that we have some pretty good runway to manage that budget correctly. But I will say that is very much contingent on running the capital budget well. So the operations only runs as well as the infrastructure works well. So we are way behind on things like our signaling system. And you've covered it before where we have signal delays and they really impact. Probably the most frustrating thing for Metro train riders is that. The age of the bus fleet, elevators and escalators, and the examples go on and on. So we have a very significant capital program problem. We're going to highlight that in the next budget meeting in October. We hit a fiscal cliff for capital in the FY29, give or take area, but we really need to solve that in the next year because the capital, it's years of planning that goes into these projects. So, there was money put into Metro back in the late teens. It never assumed any growth, and obviously then we had the pandemic and huge inflation. So you put all that together, we have to solve that problem, and we're cautiously optimistic. Our regional partners, as the chair mentioned, with DMV Moves, Everyone is fully aware of it. There's tons of transparency. There's no, what are you doing with this money? I think everyone knows it has to get done, and we appreciate their leadership and coming together and try to get this thing solved. I don't know, Madam Chair.
I would say for the boards, so your question was about why is it that we still need money when Metro is running so well. I suppose to add further color to what our general manager was saying is that, as you heard, Metro was recognized by its peers for the turnaround that's been achieved in the last couple of years. And part of that turnaround has been the increased efficiency as well as addressing safety and service issues. So the additional funds are really needed to upgrade or really invest in the sustainability of our existing infrastructure. Because as well known, fares don't cover the cost of operations. So while it's fantastic that the numbers of riders are continuing to increase and it's great for our region, really Metro is an investment in the economic ongoing sustainability of our region by not just residents but also businesses, because Metro connects not just people obviously to their jobs, but it really increases the flow of the economic stability of our region.
And I know reducing fare evasion on rail has been a big part of that. Sounded like, based on what you two said today, that there does still need to be some work on bus. It's moving in the right direction, but you still got a ways to go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is fair to say. But so on bus, I think Tom mentioned, our initial reports look like we may have increased fare payment on bus by about 20% year over year, which is a very significant increase. But we're working really hard at it. There's a lot of fare enforcement going on. There's a lot of educational campaign going on. We have a Metro Lift program for individuals that are on SNAP in the 3 states. We want to provide an opportunity if you need a hand up. We're there to help. There's other discounted programs as well. But the message is really clear, and you're going to hear more and more of this from us. We're not laying off. If you can afford to pay, you're supposed to pay. That's the social contract that makes our society run. There's nothing free in this world, and buses are not free in the DMV, regardless of whether people want them to be or not. We need that revenue because the revenue is not for us at Metro. There's no stock options and all these other things. It's to run service. And so if we could collect all that bus fare, we would even be able to run much better bus service for our region. So anyone that feels their bus is too crowded, that they get left on the curb or there's not enough frequency, make sure you're paying your fare and make sure everyone else is paying their fare. That's it. The fares help pay for service, and we need everyone to treat this community asset with the respect it deserves. And I think that's a pretty simple message, and what's fair is fair.
My last question, just my producers wanted me to ask, speaking of fare evasion, are either of you aware of the video that we put out this week of the guy who tried to crawl under the fare gate and appears to get stuck? And if so, what that says about fare evasion?
I haven't seen the video.
Sounds
like the gate worked.
He didn't get through.
Yeah.
He did not get through.
Yeah. I'm trying to do less social media. So.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, I know that the fare increase for fiscal year 2028, is that something we know now, how much it's going to go up?
No, and just to be clear, that this is us framing up the multi-year budget. Then the board will approve the FY27 budget after the deliberations and not approve the FY28 budget. What we're trying to lay out is we're trying to get into some type of cycle for fare, which adjusts to inflation. Next year that might adjust on the proposal, or the board may not consider that next year. But we're laying kind of out of a transparency, multi-year planning. It's good for our regional partners. It's good for the community at large. It's good for our funding arrangement.
Sorry, I thought it was a bit piggybacking off that. The board documents seem to say you probably wouldn't raise fares. I guess the fares that would start next summer. Is that what you're saying?
We as the staff side are not going to be proposing a fare increase for FY27, which would be July 1st next year. What we're saying is in FY28, we are likely as staff to propose kind of a small fare increase to keep up with inflation, kind of like we did in 25. 25 was a pretty big lift because it had multiple years of readjustment. We want to avoid this big up and then no fare increase for a long time and have little ones sustainably built, but be very transparent about that so people can understand it. So again, we just want to be highlighting what a multi-year budget should look like. And whether we get there next year in proposal and whether the board then considers it is up for, a year from now, starting the conversation.